Good morning, everyone. This is Cassie Stumo. I am the marketing specialist here at EAC. We'll start off today with an introduction of EAC, and then PTC's technical account specialist, Scott Thompson, will be presenting to us on how you can generate high quality, accurate, and up-to-date product and service information with Arbortext. Everyone gets a recording of the session pending any technical difficulties. Please feel free to ask questions along the way and we'll answer them after the presentation. We will have a short survey that'll appear once the webinar is over, so please take a minute to answer those. At EAC, our mission is to transform the way companies design, manufacture, connect to, and service their products. We are not only a value-added reseller for PTC, but we are the #1 solutions provider for PTC in the country, with experts in 22 areas of product development. We're located all over the US with our headquarters in Minneapolis. We offer our customers everything they need for product development, such as Creo CAD software for product design, service lifecycle management software for managing service documentation, and software that helps you manage your product data, such as Windchill, ThingWorx Navigate, and our customizable EAC productivity apps. We implement the Internet of Things and augmented reality into business strategies to jumpstart initiatives around digital transformation and connecting all things in your company. We assist with design and engineering projects like FEA, simulation, reverse engineering, and proof of concepts for our customers. We also offer webinars and PTC certified training courses for continuous learning. We're also a commercial reseller for Formlabs. We offer their latest products in additive manufacturing. The Form 3 is now available with packages starting as low as $34.99. So please keep us in mind. We have solutions to help your organization save time and money throughout the product development process. Thank you for taking the time to listen to who we are. I will hand things over to Scott so he can get started.
Wonderful. Thank you, Cassie. So today I'd like to cover Arbortext Editor and Arbortext Styler. I have a few slides here at the beginning just to cover how we handle PTC and then some of the tools in overview. And then we'll jump in and take a look at Arbortext Editor and also Styler in the tool set. So again, my name is Scott Thompson. I'm an application engineer for our Arbortext business unit, and I am happy to be speaking with you today. So just to begin, I'd like to start with what is XML. And the reason I like to bring up this definition is because we treat XML at its core components. And those three components are first being the data model. So this would be your language or rule set that determines where your tags and your structure and how your content will be formatted. So again, that's called a data model. It might be referred to as a DTD or a schema. So what I will show today will be DITA-based, and DITA being a type of data model. That's an open source standard for authoring XML. The second component to XML would be the content itself. So this would be what an author would provide, and that tool set where you provide that content within your data model is covered by Arbortext Editor. So we will certainly see a demonstration of that. And the third component to authoring an XML is the style sheet. So once we have content within a data model, we can then write a style sheet that will format that and give us complete control of what that output format looks like. And the style sheet has total control over that, and we can also develop multiple style sheets, meaning I can take the same source objects and create a new style sheet and have a totally new way to present that. The style sheets could be things like PDF. They could also support HTML deliverables from the same XML sources. So just to talk a little bit more about the XML itself, we could think of this as structured authoring, is often what this is referred to. And what that means is that your data model will determine what pieces of content you're allowed to use and how they reference each other. So on the left-hand side, I have a sample where we could see my top level document might be a procedure, and within that I might have other pieces of content that could be nested or dependent on each other. So again, that's determined by your XML data model. And on the right-hand side is an example of a procedure, and we can see some of the inputted user text that would live inside of those tags. So an XML document will always have a set of tags, an open tag and a closed tag. And what is inside of those tags is then what the style sheet reads to format. So in overview, the style sheet has complete control over what this format might look like. And you'll see the sample document today, but I could take my source XML and use the same style sheet for multiple outputs. So in this graphic, it's a PDF and an HTML document. I might have a different style sheet that I would send to a bookbinder if I was making a printed manual that would, include a gutter in the middle or a multi-page layout, perhaps. And the style sheet, again, complete control over everything formatting related. So from the authoring perspective, I no longer need to worry about what my content will be formatted. That is handled through the style sheet. So I need to make sure I'm following good authoring practices and using my XML tags appropriately. And then the style sheet and the style sheet author can format that however necessary. So our tools we will be looking at today are Arbortext Editor and Arbortext Styler. In overview, Arbortext Editor is an XML authoring tool. Some of the benefits with this tool set is that you will always stay valid to your XML schema or language you're authoring in. And it provides a very nice interface for coming in and working with your XML documents. Arbortext Styler is a utility that allows you to work with a style sheet. And one benefit of here is that it lets you do that in context with an XML document you have open in the editing environment. So it's very easy to see as we move through our XML document where the style is going to be applied in regards to what that style sheet might contain. And the style sheets are programmatic in how they approach the XML content, meaning that it will go through all of your different tags and where they are in your documents, and then you're able to edit everything from formatting. So the location on the page, the style sheets will also cover generated contents, meaning that things like a table of contents or a table of figures or an index can be programmatically generated based on the XML source documents. And we can also edit multiple output file types within one style sheet. So a very handy utility for working with the styling of XML documents. I'll just cover two other components that are really the application of the style sheet. So the first would be the Arbortext publishing engine, and this is a server-side utility where you would submit XML documents and the publishing engine would marry them with a style sheet and give you back your desired outputs. So that's one way that you could end up with a published document out of Editor, would be to submit it to the publishing engine. The publishing engine also works with PTC's Windchill solution. So that's PTC's content management solution, and the publishing engine will integrate there as well. And another option would be the Arbortext Print Composer, and this would allow you to create a PDF file from your local editor environment, but again, you would choose a style sheet to publish that PDF through. That's all I have for overview slides. So let's take a look here at our application. So I have Arbortext Editor open, and we've opened it up with our Styler license that we can see that functionality as well. But let's start with Arbortext Editor, and I'm going to open up just a sample document from the installation base. And the content type I am using is tech info, and that is database. That's PTC's version of DITA. And let me increase our font size here, or text on the screen. And so what we are looking at right now is on the left panel, we have our document structure in shorthand. So as I mentioned, within the XML, everything is contained by sets of tags. So in this example, my top level tag would be a topic. So we are looking at a topic. This idea is that everything in this topic contains one base idea. So in this example, the base idea would be the park break theory of operation. Everything here that is in order with their tags is determined by that document structure. On the right-hand side, we see our XML tags, and the content we're looking at in the editor, you could think of it as having no style being applied. This is really just the sequential view of this content. And the content itself is what is important when we are editing. So we really don't need to consider the style until we start formatting that for output using our style sheet. If you'd like, you can certainly turn that tag view off and get more of a maybe a simpler view of our content in the editing environment, and we'll still be able to do all of the same operations, but just a different view of that same content. So let's go in here. Let's maybe add some content to our document. We can see that wherever my cursor is inside of Arbortext Editor, if I move that and I hit enter, I can see a list of all of the tags that are valid for me to insert in this location based off of my document type definition. So in this location, I have 4 different tags. So this tag would represent an alternate title, perhaps, maybe something for navigation or searching in a specific application. And that functionality then could be built in through our style sheet or through our delivery mechanism. But in the XML, I'm just providing context for that. If we come within my body and I hit enter, you can see I have a whole nother list of tags. So for instance, let's put a note in here, and that would be something that I might want to format as a note. Another example of a tag would be lists are certainly supported, tables are certainly supported, and the naming of those is determined by your schema or your document type definition. The authoring process is you would learn your tag set, and then Arbortext Editor will make sure that everything you're inserting within your tags are going to be valid for your XML schema. So I'll do another note, and we'll use these notes to show some of the styling capabilities. One other type of functionality you have within XML authoring is the ability to provide metadata information within a tag. So we can see an example of that at my top level document. This document has a unique identifier, which could be used for referencing it with other documents. And we can also see that there's a language that has been specified. So this metadata is certainly something that you would set up and configure to reflect your needs. Another example would be, I have a tag here called a hazard statement, and I can change what this statement represents using that metadata. So if we go into the attributes of this tag, here's where we can see some of those different types of metadata. Another example here would be the idea of profiling. So maybe this tag, is for internal only audiences, would be an example of metadata. And I could also change this instead of a caution. Maybe I want this to be a warning, and then we could see that update within my document. So that type of functionality is incredibly useful when authoring in XML. Let's talk a little bit about the style sheet. So I have Arbortext Editor with Styler, so that means that I can work with and create and edit style sheets. And let me pull one in, and I'll talk through some of the capabilities you have with your style sheets. The basic tool set here is that we are going to be able to edit my style sheet with regards to the XML document that I have open. So when the style sheet opens, we'll see a list of all of the tags that are referenced in this document, and then I'll be able to format that however I would like using those style sheet commands. So let me arrange my windows here so we can see both of them. So on the right-hand side is my style sheet editor, and wherever I click within this document will reference that location within my style sheet. So we can see my cursor is inside of this hazard statement, and my style sheet is going to reference that. And the style sheet works programmatically. So for instance, we could see it's looking at an element of a hazard statement, and it's going to look and see, is that in procedural information? Is that in a figure? Or is that anywhere else? And then I can have logical statements that would further define where these tags are. So that would be the basic way that the style sheet looks at the XML. Is it's going to look at the tags and then look at the rules that are determined within the style sheet. We can see here that I can change what formats I'd like to edit. So if I want a separate rule exception for HTML or PDF, I can build that into my style sheet, meaning I could get different functionality, say around graphics. Maybe for a PDF print format, I'd like a PNG image as opposed to maybe a 3D image that I would want to be printed to HTML. That would all be something that the style sheet could determine. So these two notes I made, if we go here, we can see similar functionality. So this first note in my style sheet would be considered a note everywhere else, and this note that's within a list is going to be the note in a list tag set. So just as an example here, let's change the font color for the note in a list to blue, and we can change the text color everywhere else. Let's make that red. Just as an example of a style sheet change. So when I publish this, we can then see that this first note will become blue and the second one will become red. Just a simple example there. Some other things I can control with my style sheet are the placement of things on the page, the pages themselves, generated content like footnotes or headers. There's a tool set here for table of contents and indices and tables. So the style sheet, again, has complete control over everything that's going to be formatted through my document. So as you work through your tabs in your style sheet tool, these would be property sets, so sets of content that we can easily call in by saying if I want a block of formatting for my text, I can call in this property set. I get to determine my pages. So we could see, maybe I have bookbinding sets versus, an A4 bookbinding set. I get to determine the different types of pages that are called, the regions on those pages for content, the generated content itself. So an example here would be, here's what is generated in XML using for a header on an even page. And we can reference information coming from the XML document, and we can also generate things like page numbers automatically based off of that content. So as I go through table of contents, indices, like I said, table styles, all of that is determined here with our style sheet. So just a quick example, we can do a print preview of my document here to generate a PDF preview of this example. And again, what it's going to do is call in this style sheet and format my XML per those rules. So here's a very basic style sheet, but hopefully gives an example here. We can see I need to work with my hazard statement sizing here a little bit, but there's my example of my notes. So if we look at them in the XML, again, we're really just looking at the sequential view of these objects. And the style sheet then is saying this note, based on its location, is going to have red text, and this one will have blue text. So as I scroll down, here's the rest of the document formatted. And so we can see things like headers and footers, the spacing, the breaks, all of that are controlled through my style sheet. So that's a quick overview here of Arbortext Styler and also the editor. One thing I can point out that I mentioned would be if I wanted to do a publish from editor, we have that print composer license, and I would be able to do the same similar publishing command. So if I wanted to publish to a PDF, I can choose my style sheet here. So let me, before I do that, let me save my style sheet, and then we can do a PDF publish using the print composer functionality. But again, I'm going to be choosing that style sheet, and let me save it to my desktop. And again, it's going to reference that style sheet and publish out this content based off of my programmatic rules inside of my style sheet. So the same document that we were really just looking at, but generated a different way through the interface. Arbortext Editor also integrates with Windchill, so you could check in and check out and manage your content inside of Windchill, our content management system, but edit it in Editor, or it can work in a standalone file system as well. That brings me to the end of my overview presentation. I'd like to leave a few minutes here for, we have a few survey questions, and then if there's any user questions, I'd be happy to answer those as well.
All right, thanks so much, Scott, for that presentation. I'm not seeing any hands raised or questions coming through yet, but I will give it a minute. I will be sending this recording of the session in a follow-up email this afternoon in case you'd like to rewatch anything or send the replay to your coworkers. There's also that short 4-question survey that'll pop up here once we end the webinar. So just take a moment to answer those questions. I'm still not seeing any questions, so I guess I'll let you guys go. But if you do have questions, just email me. And we'll go ahead and answer those for you. So thank you again, Scott, and thanks everybody who joined the call today.